Yeah, hello everyone. In this video, I'll be explaining this article titled A User-Centered Design Methodology for Students Data-focused InfoVis. This article basically critiqued previous studies that proposed user-centered design methodology for information visualizations. So these are methodologies used in different domains, from geovisualization to biological visualization to earth visualizations to neurobiological visualization. So basically the critique is looking at some observed redundancies in stages or phases in these previous works, at the same time examining how comprehensive the methodology can be, basically that which will make it useful for both practitioners, the industry practitioner, at the same time to researchers in academics. So my name is Semiu. Akanmu. I'm one of the authors of the book. My co-author is my PhD advisor, person of Professor Zulikha Jamaludin. Now, I want to deconstruct this title to show its connection with the decision support system class. A user-centered design basically shows that in designing this InfoVis, the users must be involved. The design is focused in meeting the needs of the users. Though this need, in this case, are basically into two parts. First is the task. What are the tasks that the users want to execute while using this decision support system? I'm intentionally substituting InfoVis with decision support system because logically InfoVis is also a decision support system, so that to really connect and situate what this article shows as it relates with the decision support system class. So in designing InfoVis, designing decision support system, users must be involved to ensure that the decision support system is designed to meet the task that the users will be executing through the decision support system. At the same time, the decision support system must be able to accurately transform the data into the domain explicit knowledge. So examples of our tasks is like describe, select, correlate, associate, explore. The users might want to know the descriptive graphics is the visualization technique that fits in here. But from the decision support system perspective, the user might want to describe what the historical data is all about, the frequencies, the mean, the relationship, that is the correlation, does it have an association, and at the same time you might want to selecting a particular data set to show details. Supporting techniques in this regard is like zooming. So want to try to see details of or drill down techniques. These are basically information visualization techniques. So might want to exploring means you want to show the different form, show me different thing from this data set. Users have to day to day, time to time interact with the decision support system by being able to execute these tasks to really actualize explicit knowledge that will be utilized in decision making processes. So basically this is what decision support system do. Decision support system must support a befitting and appropriate data model. At the same time, the user decision making practices must also be supported. So like we have example of domain explicit knowledge here, the pattern of students enrollment based on the academic background. This is just an example. The user might want to know how is enrollment pattern over years. Do we have certain academic students from certain academic background outnumbering others from another academic background? What is responsible for this? What can we decide as an organization based on this? So do we need to give preference to certain academic background, or we do not need to give? So there are limitless and countless types or nature of decisions that can be made from. So this is what decision support system does, and this is what InfoVis does as well. The difference in this regard is that in information visualization, it helps in gaining insights from large and multi-dimensional data sets. So when we have voluminous data sets that cannot be understood from just a glance through, InfoVis helps in gaining insight. So by this quality of gaining insights, InfoVis combines techniques, the analytical techniques, with the user interaction techniques, with the visualization techniques. So this is why InfoVis becomes a more suitable tool, because it doesn't really ordinarily utilizes only the analytical techniques, which is traditional to decision support system. InfoVis combines this with interaction techniques, with visualization techniques, and this is what makes it more appropriate and even usable to people who are not from the rigid technical background. So InfoVis uses this to help in supporting the perception. This is visualization. It gives a clearer picture using statistical graphics. This visualization, together with the user's ability to interact with the data sets, supports cognition. And from theoretical arguments, these two phenomena achieve decision support, and this is how InfoVis is connected to decision support system. In our domain, the research we've just concluded, we have an information visualization tool that was designed, is StudentVis, that was designed to support information, to support the domain explicit knowledge. Now, for example, if we look at this Excel file, we have these data dimensions: the program, the matric, the name. These are in Malaysia national language, so it shouldn't be confusing. We have the number of semesters, student status, country. So this going to about 20 data dimension, the admission year, the code of the program, and going to more than hundreds of rows. So it is hard for user to make sense from this information without having an information visualization tool to really explore this voluminous data set. So these are screen graphs from that system. All the data variables the information visualization tool can explore and show relationship of this data variable, and this will guide users, basically the domain users, in understanding the data set and subsequently in supporting their decision making processes. So these are green screenshots of the information visualization. So this is the basis of the user-centered design methodology, which argues that to have an appropriate InfoVis, which is meant for decision-making purposes, the users, which are the domain users, must be involved in the design processes. So now let's go to the methodology. The methodology is a three-phased methodology. We have the pre-conceptual framework development phase, we have the conceptual framework development phase, and the post-conceptual framework development phase. The framework development phase is really showing us that what we want to design in our decision support system, be it information visualization or the traditional decision support system, be business intelligence and stuff like that, we need its concept, the concept that addresses the domain problem. This must be satisfied. We need to complete this phase. There must be a conceptual design framework that addresses the needs of the user in the domain. Before translating this conceptual framework into a full-scale development, where we are going to have the tool, the physical tool itself, and at the same time the post development phase. So in totality we have 10 stages of 3 phases. So the first phase is the pre-conceptual framework, the second phase is the conceptual framework development phase, and the third phase is the post-conceptual development. So let's take it one by one. So this is the pre-conceptual framework development phase. Here we have 3 stages. The first stage is the domain study. At this domain study, the researcher, which is or the practitioner, the decision support system developer, must study the domain. Study the domain through critical literature review about what the user's needs, what the problem that the decision support system is addressing is, through field observation by visiting the domain. If it is bank, if you are designing a decision support system for quality assurance, you have to meet the quality assurance manager, meet the finance manager, meet the school administrators, to conduct in-depth interview, to observe how day-to-day runnings of their of their decision support practices is done. So this will allow in-depth understanding of what the domain is all about. And after this, based on this is basically to observe what it does and conceptualize this at a very low stage into a visualization. Because as I said, the methodology is for InfoVis. So this will be a low fidelity prototype using paper, using handcrafts, to enhance closer interaction with the domain experts. The domain experts in this regard are people that are going to use the decision support system for their decision making practices. So at the last stage, based on these 2 previous stages, the task must be clear at this last stage of task elicitation and validation. What the users are going to be using the decision support system for must be clear, and it must be duly validated, that there are details information about user study, user experience design that could be consulted for deeper understanding or guide or how to carry out these stages. So the next phase of the methodology is the conceptual framework design. So based on what we have at the first phase, after understanding the task that users are going to be executing using the decision support system, after identifying the knowledge involved, knowledge is different from the task. The task is you want to calculate, you want to describe, you want to predict, but maybe the knowledge involved is you want to know what influences this, what influences that. Like the example of our own domain, what affects dropout of students, what affects their rise in CGPA, what affects. So these are the explicit knowledge, because this is the InfoVis must adequately transform data into explicit knowledge to support decision making purposes. So at this conceptual framework design stage, the appropriate InfoVis techniques must be conceptualized. So InfoVis techniques that is going to support the visualization, which of the visualization techniques are appropriate. This must be determined at this stage. Which of the interaction techniques are appropriate, and which of the distortion techniques. So all techniques that are going to be used in designing the information visualization tool must be concluded at this stage with due compatibility with the user's task and also with the domain explicit knowledge. So the next stage is expert review, which is showing what we achieve at this stage to experts in the field. There are supporting literatures that shows or justifies the essence of having expert review, either as heuristic evaluation or just as an expert in the field of information visualization this time around, or decision support system business intelligence, to really show that actually what the researcher, what the designer proposes is correct, verifying the compliance between the task, the explicit knowledge, and the information visualization techniques. So this will be done by the expert in the field. So after this is validated by the experts that yeah, your conceptual framework design is valid, then the next stage will be prototyping, which is now translating the conceptual framework to a physical artifact, to a tool that users can interact with, a software. So when the software is done, for the researcher's angle, there must be due studies of the interaction, usability, and cognitive. Basically, this suggests a compliance with theoretical supports, interactions principles, usability principles, and cognitive laws. There are different theories, principles guiding human-computer interaction, system usability, and human cognition. These studies there must be imports, the theoretical imports, to improve the design of the prototype at this stage, so that at the end of the day, the interaction quality of the InfoVis will be satisfactory, as well as the usability, as well as the cognitive. The cognitive. So the last stage of the methodology is the core coding and system development. So at this stage, after improving the prototype based on cognitive theories, principles, usability principles, and the human-computer interaction or interaction design principles. So after this is done, a core coding will be done at this stage. Here is real practical work, basically, to have a final product. So these are basically system development imports. So what should be done? The coding and system error checks, because at this stage you want to expose it further to the users. So, and when this is done, then the last stage would be the user's evaluation. So at this stage, the user where we started our research, the domain study, that is where we started this methodological flow, we have to go back to evaluate the system at this stage, to evaluate the decision support system. So the feedback will also now be needed. So do we really meet up with the task? Is the experience enhanced? Are you not bored using the system? The simplicity of the system, the learnability of the system, and some other usability factors have to be considered. The interface, the color usage, and all this will have to be evaluated. Does it meet the task? Does it transform the data to required and needed domain explicit knowledge, and at the same time is the interface appealing and usable? Is the system? All the necessary evaluation will be done, and if need be, for further domain study, then the circle continues. So this is the explanation of the proposed user-centered design methodology for student data focus InfoVis. Thank you very much.